Just asked Dave for a
Yeah,
cable
Eddie
and
asked for-
poles afterwards. Definitely. Sure, he said he would. In the future. Yeah.
We'll just bring a drill. Yeah, drill.
Yeah, there you go.
Some nice foot.
Everybody's prepared, but
So Matt, are you, we're all good here?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll
Yeah.
proceed with, approval of minutes from a regular meeting, if anybody can even remember, November 18th, 2025. Motion to approve.
So moved.
Eileen, will second.
A second.
Matt, is there any discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thanks. I think we're supposed to put on there soon, alternates too. Do we have any alternates? So we have, Mark on Zoom.
We have Mark
Is on
on here and we have Vincent.
and Vincent, yeah.
So, somebody want to make a motion to seat Mark for Stephen?
Sure, I'll make a motion.
Matt,
to
is there a
leave Mark
second?
for Stephen.
Yeah, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Welcome, Mark and Vincent. Can you hear us okay?
Mark's on mute, but since he's talking, I'll take it as.
Okay.
It's
thumbs up.
10.
Cool.
Can anyone hear us?
Judy's nodding. Okay, yeah, we're good.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
All right, we voted on the minutes. I'd like a motion to add to the agenda under new business item 8-24 referral for 107 Main Street rental, potential rental. Just discussion, right? And actually, or just discussion? Or D or E?
Discussion.
Just discussion. Under
Under number 3, new business.
number 3, item D.
Yeah, that we, that doesn't work, you come in.
Now we got it.
What are we adding?
The discussion, it's a 828-24 referral
Mhm.
concerning 107 Main Street lease. So it's a town-owned property that we have to discuss. Doug, is there a second?
I'll second.
Eileen, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Thank you. So we sent our alternate, nobody else is an alternate, right? Everybody else is.
Yeah, you're good.
November was a long time ago, I can't remember.
Yeah.
New business, item 3A, follow up from DOH regarding number of allowable units within the public comments, number 2 is what I meant. Getting ahead of myself. Very proud of it. Public comments?
Yeah.
I could just tell.
Yeah.
I won't cross out 3 yet, because I'm down to 4, we'll be adjourning in minutes.
Mhm.
3A, follow up from DOH regarding number of allowable units within the IHC. A little background, if you recall from our public discussion, actually with these people here, which.
The
again,
housing informational meeting.
Thank you so much for partaking in it.
Yeah.
I think it was fantastic.
Thank you for that very kind note from everybody.
You're
Oh.
welcome. We had some hangers, Jocelyn was checking, and then we decided as a town we could check as well to try to clarify the number of maximum allowable units. So if everybody read this email chain, and I think you guys were on the email chains, just so we're all on one page here. If not, we can catch it up. But after some going back and forth, the state kind of came back at the end saying that they don't really have a purview over maximum. As long as their minimum allowable density for IHC is met at the time of the commissioner sent a letter of eligibility and our zoning regs were put in place. Which if you go to our page 42, IHC development standards. Under H1 is our density requirements. And kind of trying to wrap my head around maximum required density, because it didn't work in my head. At the end of the day, that's a misprint. It should read minimum density required. It's subject to 8-13 and B3 of Connecticut general statutes. It is sets on that, and you gotta kind of, this is very complicated. The long story short, this is very complicated to figure out what the minimum is and the maximum. So then I went back to the original, and I may label it wrong, and I apologize, but it's the letter from, I believe, DOH giving the housing trust. I'm sorry, I just don't know the label of it, saying that the 14 unit or 16 units, well, at that point it said 14 units would not be a problem. What would we call that? It was just for clarity, and I apologize. An application which was put forth from, at that point, NYCT Regional Planning under FOG for this zone on River Road for the full 66 acres. And it shows 13.5 developable acres, but this is where I get lost because it shows through some formula that they created, and I haven't been able to wrap my head around it. If you read minimum density of duplex for 13.5 acres, it's 6. So, and if anybody has an answer for this, please feel free. We'll open the floor up here. Shows a minimum density required of 6, and there's 13.5 acres of developable land out of the 66 acres, we'll call it, which seems like it would be 6 times 13.5, which would be a very large number. 81. And that's definitely was never the intention of the planning and zoning when the IHC was put into place. I think originally maybe the Housing Trust came forward with a plan for like 28. And then I think that's where the 14 maybe for this application came from. No?
No.
Please feel free, Jandy.
Okay.
Chairman, if I may, there is a provision in the regulations that says there's a density waiver for nonprofit or town owned, and
I was gonna get to that.
yeah, so I think that, like, rather than having a circular conversation, that
Well,
might just be applicable.
yes, we're gonna hold that thought. I agree with you, and I have that circled, but I just wanted a little piece answered for me, and I think Jandy has the answer. Just that little piece of how we got to 14 units on the application.
How we got to 6?
Well, it's 14 on the application.
It's there first with some of their drafts. And there isn't a minimum, because the whole idea of an IHZ, I mean, we weren't close to a minimum. The whole idea of an IHC is to rethink the zoning for the town.
I totally get that part,
Yeah.
but there
And
is a
so-
minimum.
And you
state.
described it, but we weren't anywhere near it. So that 14 was before my time.
Okay,
When we developed this 501c3 10 years ago, that had already gone through.
okay,
We first came in with a larger 28 unit, and then the community built out in a significant and understandable way about that. So we went back and we changed it to a little over half that, which was 6.
okay, good.
So that's the order that the numbers.
Okay, so this application was prior to your incorporation of the housing trust.
Yeah,
That's why it was put
that's
under by
right.
NY.
That's right.
Okay. So with all that being said, I'm trying to go from being on the commission at that point to where we are today. And this is all very relevant, I believe, because of item B under new business today. We'll accept that in a second. But we do have, as Janelle said, under section 7H2 or 1A, the density waiver for nonprofit and municipally owned land may be waived by the P and Z if the land to be zoned for incentive housing is owned or controlled by the municipality itself, an agency thereof, a land trust, a housing trust fund, or nonprofit housing agency or courts. Obviously, both parties fall under that. But so I guess I'm looking to see if people have in it, going through these emails if you have questions, because there's a lot of history in here, and I was part of it from day one, and it confuses me. So I'm assuming it may confuse everybody in the world. And
We have a minimum, but we don't have a maximum.
correct, but my question is interpretation, and so we have the right to waive these density requirements are minimums, that we can waive those, meaning we can have, as I understand waiving minimum, we can make it more or less. We can make it whatever we choose as a commission.
Yeah.
And that's but I'm just full transparency, I'm struggling with interpreting our regulation on that part. And you go to the state IHZ statute, and that's very complicated as well to me. And Janelle, if you had.
What
anything you would like to
detail of the regulation is the problematic detail, the discrepancy of the original application?
Well, our
and then-
regs say max and really it's min.
Yeah,
I believe it to be a typo, but our regulations state max.
yeah, yeah.
So you think it's actually minimum and not?
It should see absolutely minimum density, not max. There's no max.
That doesn't make any sense.
There's-
Sorry, could I explain? Would you mind? This is Jocelyn
Sure.
Air. It's Jocelyn Air.
Gloria, yeah, that's great. I'm sure you could help me.
Yeah, so I know it's confusing. I completely understand, but we actually did mean maximum. Because what we were thinking about when we developed that together, the regulation, was that basically we didn't want, especially folks that weren't going to do 100% affordable, like developers that might come in the future and ask to use the IHC regulation. We didn't want them to, we wanted that to be the maximum density that they could get, even though it's the minimum density allowed under the state's incentive housing zone rules, if that makes sense. So, but again, I think as Janelle pointed out, the important part here that we wrote in was the waiver ability for the developments that are done by a nonprofit, and specifically for those that are 100% affordable. You guys can decide that those developments can be below or above that threshold. It's completely up to the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Okay, so we do absolutely, the waiver can go both directions.
Yeah, and actually in a lot of cases, we are doing developments that are less than the density that would be required under if the development wasn't 100% affordable. So even the state's IHC rules allow you to do lower densities if it's 100% affordable, which it is in this case.
Yeah, so I'm just taking Michael Santoro's reply, which I believe you're on as well, Jocelyn.
Yep. Yep.
And it's, so I'm just, maybe I'm being a stickler. I just want to make sure we get it right. That's all
Yep.
that I'm bringing and going through this exercise. Because, if per his writing, as long as your adopted regulation meets the minimum requirements identified above, which
Yes.
which is
Your
to do the
max,
math.
your max
you
meets their
review
min.
it,
Yeah.
this max, which is the min, so you
Yeah.
understand how.
Yeah. Oh
confusing
no,
that can be.
it's so confusing, and we had a lot of conversations about it when we were developing it for that reason.
right.
So
I'm trying to recall. That was a long time ago we did that, but I recall it.
yes, it
And
was a
so,
lot.
Jocelyn, so here's, as I was kind of alluding to, I have a concern because during that time when we created the IEC, after all the time that we spent finding a spot and making it and going through the process. But we always looked at it as one IEC zone of the full 66 acres. Subsequently, that's broken off to
It may be.
maybe broken off. It's being asked to be broken off 10 acres or so, give or take, off to 66. And then we have, discussion has taken place about using the other 3.5 developable acres for more affordable housing. But going back at that period, we looked at that as you're referring to, the maximums for the 13 acres. So now what's being asked is considerably larger than what our intent was, in my recollection, in 2013.
Do you want me to respond to that?
I would love that, but I understand if you don't want to or you can't. And
No, I
it's
mean,
it's
again, I think if you can obviously change your zoning regulations by the same, methods that, you do any other zoning regulations. If you guys wanted to amend the IHZ regulation to make it on a smaller parcel, you could do that if you wanted to. But I think, obviously, if somebody else comes in with another application other than the one that you guys already approved, um, obviously it won't be on that full acreage. It would be on a smaller parcel, and they, in theory, would be allowed up to the maximum density. But if they were 100% affordable, they would be, they could ask you for a waiver for less than that density or more than that density, but that would be up to your discretion, the Planning and Zoning Commission's discretion.
What's the question? And Jocelyn, not at all to put you on the spot, but I was just wondering if you recall a term for that minimum. So the 100% of the units must be subject to the incentive housing restriction. For how long?
30 years.
Well, but it doesn't say that. So how do we, I mean, I know the state looks at 30 years to qualify. Is that sort of intended by this regulation? I just want to make sure, because in the event that, as you said, like another developer, someone else comes in, wants to blow out the density, do we have an authority to say that has to be for a minimum of 30 years?
I believe that is in the regulation itself.
Great, awesome. No, yeah, Greg's pointing it out right now, and I'm glad to see it because I got nervous for a second.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's in there. And then I
30
know you
years.
guys are, yeah, and you guys are talking about the administering agency. And all of those are the things that the administering agency would check off and make sure that there was
Great.
a restriction, recorded on the land records for that 30-year period.
Perfect. That answers my question. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Jocelyn. You helped clear up a little bit of the mud, but it's
Yeah,
still,
sorry.
I still struggle a little bit over the intent at that time versus, 2026, 13 years later. So,
Yeah, well, this isn't uncommon with zoning regulations that what you were thinking when you adopted it at one time is different this many years later. And again, that's why you have the power to amend your zoning regulations if you wish.
with all that being said,
Mhm.
any questions, comments, concerns from the commissioners? And again, I know that was a lot, but I just wanted to, I've spent a lot of time trying to figure my way to today from then. So,
I have a question.
Yeah.
How does all this work with water and like, well, out there would be a well and septic?
So that's going to be outside of our jurisdiction. It's going to be
Okay, so
potentially,
that's,
yeah, it's often going to be a state regulated system.
Okay.
And they'll go through all the if fence and all the approvals of that. but outside of our realm, as long as we have the documentation that they can support it.
Okay,
So typically it wouldn't be Torrington Area Health. In these cases, it's more of a state system. And
okay,
my understanding is that the Falls Village Housing Trust has gone through some of that preliminary, or way more than the preliminary at this point.
and another thing, it
That's a
says,
great question.
another thing in here on, from the emails,
Mhm.
the last email, it says, that you may request a smaller number of units due to 5,000 or less of, per population per acre.
Yeah, and that sort of is you bring the 4 units per acre and the 6 units per acre is what I find out is not actually a typo,
Minimum.
but a purposeful maximum. That matches that number because we're under the 5,000.
Okay,
So that's where the 4 and the 6 under 7H1
yeah,
comes in, is from that state statute.
okay.
813 B3. But, yeah,
I don't know that the minimum is such an issue. For me, it's the maximum.
right.
So hypothetically, on 13.5 acres, you could put 81 units based on the 6 per acre. That's a lot.
At our discretion. As commission's discretion, right? Because it's a waiver.
Well, the way-
Well, if a waiver was asked, and a waiver, I think, may have been asked.
But
It
at
was
this
an
point,
application, I don't know if a waiver came, there's many attachments to the original thing.
the only application is from the land trust. We've heard about habitat and what they'd like to do. But we're looking at 66 acre parcel, 13.5 workable. And I don't know, Jandy, if you had where you're going ultimately number sort of thing?
Are you asking if
Yeah, I'm sorry.
this is just the beginning and we were going to add more later? That was your.
Kinda, yeah, just wondering if there's anything in the works, in the plans, for that piece. We're looking at 10 acres, which would leave 3.5 to the habitat.
Well, our option to purchase and what we're in the process of purchasing now is, has always been around 10 acres. And so our application to P and Z was always for that site. And the quick answer is no, we're not planning to add any more to that site,
Okay.
to that particular site. Any other acreage there and anybody else would not be us.
Well, it's sort of limited, I think, once you get into it. If you get 10 and they get 3.5, that's really the end of the buildable land.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
You can, I mean,
It gets quite steep quite quickly.
Goats.
And what's more,
It gets very steep very
Right.
you're
quickly.
not doing
and
it.
that's designated for the conservation group anyway.
exactly.
Yeah. So I guess again, and this is maybe a good practice session for us for the next one coming. I'd prefer to see us focus on the max. And I think, I mean, minimum wise, you guys would hit that anyway, right? For what you're looking at?
You're under the minimum, but that.
Yeah.
So going back to the original application, it's kind of. As you read through the attachments, kind of reiterating what my thoughts were about, it was looked at as the whole site. For a project of these, and yeah, I guess at the bottom, at the end of the day, it's
What's
A,
that?
the waiver requested from the planning and zoning, for the planning and zoning to decide if the IHC, if 16 units is the max that we want, or if we want to add potentially another 10 units. It's a significant.
So I wouldn't go into this discussion at this time because there's no application before us.
No, I understand,
So
but
just-
I'm just talking.
To maybe not. For like, in the event that an application does come before you, it's the perfect time to discuss that as a commission. It could be a little dangerous to go there
Yeah, and that's
prematurely.
what I'm trying not to do.
Yeah,
But at the same point, we have an item that's imminent that could be affected by a choice. So with that being said, if
Yeah.
anybody else has anything further, I feel like I opened my piece. Item B, lot line modification, River Road.
We're speaking of the 66 acre.
just for the record,
Yes.
your name, please.
Keith Bodwell Engineering and Surveying, 92 Cream Hill Road, West
Social
Cornwall.
security number and take account.
They call them bonds.
All right. So the 66 acres that we were just discussing is this outer piece. Looking at a first cut of the 10 acres off of it for Falls Village Housing Trust. The remainder will stay at this point with Habitat for Humanity. With the future lot line adjustment, Habitat also owns this piece, so to cut the rest off for as discussed. But at this point, we're only coming with the 10 acre first cut.
Is this, so there's two parts.
So Habitat owns two parcels, a 14 acre piece that's a triangle here.
Mhm.
So that is not part of this.
Right,
The 66 acres is this
yep,
whole thing here.
Do you know this frontage?
To so yeah. Roughly good enough or
over 600.
Yeah, it has to be 50. So this will have to have 50 and that will have to have 50.
50 feet?
Yeah.
Oh. Well, yeah, much more than 50 feet. Yes,
Gotta verify.
yes, much more.
I have yet to see this plan, so
Yeah, much
the
more than,
question seems
yes,
out.
160, 200, 200, yeah, we're 1,000 feet-ish.
and this is the only frontage that would remain for Habitat for the remaining. Now it would be what, 56 acres?
Yes,
Roughly,
yeah, 55,
Okay.
69, yep,
it would be along this,
right.
okay,
And eventually we'd be cutting off pieces, so there'd be some frontage for the part that would go to conservation, but conservation will get this whole 14 acres plus the majority chunk of the 56 acres remaining of this. But we're not bringing that before you at this point,
Yep, just here for the
just here for the
first cut.
first cut, yeah. As to not try to confuse things anymore.
I know he had some money he was trying to throw our way, Janelle,
oh, he did,
and he even had a piece of paper filled out with some,
yes,
something on it.
I've seen this as of this evening.
Yeah.
I did shove a check under Michelle's door.
Pretty open discussion. If it's.
Keith, you need to sing because she's just now.
He had some issues with the map being
Yeah, I heard.
misdone. And I'm not the surveyor record of this, so it's kind of.
And this is a A2, right?
Yes,
Signed stamp.
Where's
Yeah.
Torrington area on this?
it should be approved. I haven't got the letter from them, but everything was good with them, so. I do not have a letter though. This was already approved, gone through the state and everything and gotten preliminary approvals from the state and they have all that approvals.
Yeah.
And then we did testing out here. It's all sand and gravel, so it wasn't,
You're not gonna be,
I'm not concerned about it.
So when you say it's approved by the state for the proposed
For the
project.
proposed project, so they went through much further than the B100A that's required for a subdivision. They went many steps beyond that already, so. They've already gotten the state preliminary approvals and all that stuff.
So Janelle, everything looks in order other than a letter from TAHD?
Yeah, and my, no, that's good, that's fine. I was gonna ask for the purpose, for the purposes of what it is that Habitat intends to do with the lot prior to the cut, you've done your due diligence with the remaining acreage as far as suitability for
This is
everything that you
all gonna,
intend to
we
support.
got, yes, we've got suitability here for everything we intend to support on the 2.5 acres or whatever that we're gonna keep here. The rest is all gonna be conservation land, so it's not, doesn't need a suitability for septic.
Yeah.
But we did, yes, we've gotten good sand and gravel test pits and everything else on what we're keeping.
Yeah, because I figured that approval's to BD.
Yeah.
Any commissioner have a question thus far? Pretty straightforward. Other than needing a letter from TAHD.
Have you had a chance to look at sightlines with what you're left with?
Yeah,
Yeah,
and we've
you're fine.
actually, that's some language that we're gonna have an easement across corner here to bring our driveway in a little bit further down, closer to the
Got it. So
existing driveway, so
yeah.
we're gonna, when we transfer to them, we're including an easement for us to bring this driveway in over here instead of coming in here to kind of get us better sight line and everything.
Got it. And you'll have that on the updated deed?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, the lawyer's got that all written up and everything. I think Bob has a copy of it, yeah,
So it'll be 3 parcels.
eventually. Well, there is 3 parcels. Once we cut this off, there will be 3 parcels already, because Habitat already owns this. So when we do this parcel, we'll probably just move this line over, eliminate this parcel and make the 14 plus whatever the
Yeah.
50, 3 acres or whatever, Yeah, that's what I said. That's going to the,
Yeah, for the purposes of this.
it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is all irrelevant for what we're
I mean, these questions we're asking are really irrelevant,
Yeah.
but we just wanna.
kind of get an
we wanna
idea what's
make-
coming in.
Yeah.
We wanna make sure
tricky.
that we don't wanna assume that you're aware of future complications.
Yeah,
That's exactly where you're going.
And that's where I
Yeah.
was going,
Yeah.
and it's difficult.
It's hard. You
Yeah.
you wanna go there. You just.
No, I
And
understand.
I believe you have the experience to understand.
yeah.
So we're asking, when do you anticipate bringing your full application before this commission?
For the.
I'm just kidding, I'm kidding.
I have no idea. Sometime in the next 10 years.
I have this is all good. And this is pending, okay.
I did all the scratching.
So minus the pending, wouldn't just be forwarded the whole thing to approve lot line for, well, it's a by right.
It's administrative.
So it's
We just-
administrative.
Yeah, we just require it and
But
for,
because the application technically is not complete, would you like the commission to? do
no, because
anything?
it's typically administrative. It's just because of the 2016 memo that went out that it comes before the
Most
commission.
towns don't.
And
require
it's, yeah, it's more of a informational than anything else.
So it's just up to your, you
Most
won't
towns
give your
it is.
final stamp until.
Most times the EEO does it all in-house and it doesn't come before the commission at all, so.
Yeah, but I will hold one plan as collateral, and then upon finalization, we'll stamp it.
Yeah.
The chairman stamps
Yeah.
it, and then we'll
Well,
file.
Mylar,
Yeah.
Any other questions? I mean, it's
In my mind-
informational, but it's.
Yeah, no, it all makes sense. It looks good in my mind. I'm going back to the unit discussion about maximum. Because if we were to do that first, it'll impact this some regard.
That's
So
that,
where's our
that's that
priority?
weird, that's that weird area we're just talking that I was trying to go into, but I don't know how to maneuver it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well, I mean, we haven't done anything. We haven't acted on the follow-up from DOH. We talked about it. And I would assume at some point that's gonna have to be put up to a vote. on a maximum number.
Well, what your regs say is what stands until the commission changes the regulations or makes a move, or anyone else makes a move to change the
To
regulation.
amend it, correct?
The intent of an application doesn't read through to what your regulations say. Your regulations are what's on the books.
Right.
There's a long history of that application, but as CEO, I don't read intent behind what's written on
Sure.
the page. I interpret what's written on the page.
Sure. My concern only is that, and it was nobody's fault, obviously, years ago, in 2013. I don't think anybody thought that there might be a developer to come in and want to put 81 units in there. But that is something we need to think about. And I know these folks aren't, that's, not worried about that so much, but it sets precedent for us as well.
I
So
don't
my
think it's all
opinion would
about
be,
either year, we're gonna get.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not like we have city sewers or anything to work off of, so it's with
That's definitely a
septic
driver.
systems, you're restricted on how much you can get on it anyway.
Definitely a driver.
And-
And understood.
With the topography of this parcel being such, you've got, like you said, the 13 and a half, whatever acres that are actually usable. Yeah, it's more like 12.
Yeah.
Well, and then even
Go
half
back to
the
the-
10 acres that you're getting
I'm
is not
sorry.
even, so it's not like.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Do you-
you.
how many copies do you-
I'm gonna keep one.
Okay.
Do you want me to keep more?
I'm sure Habitat would like copies of.
That's what I,
If you want, good with you.
one is fine, more than fine, because then the other one upon final
Yeah.
approval, we'll just get a Mylar.
Yeah.
And get the deed filed, so it's official, at your leisure.
That's good.
That's right. Thank you.
guys.
Thanks, Keith.
Appreciate it.
Bye, people.
Letter to the DOS, item C. Addressing the IHC, the designation of administrating agency. That's a. Actual letter.
Oh, no, it's cool. Let's do this for a little bit. There we go. I can do two things at once.
I don't know, that grease.
Doesn't look it.
It's a little crooked.
That was my best yet.
Matt and I noticed this stuff.
I started.
Focus.
No, I know. I'm gonna bug you. Anyway.
Item 3C, do you have something to? The letter?
I believe I distributed it, and I can have a triple check if I did. If not, I'm happy to pull it up, read it.
I don't recall.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I didn't
Hard
see a
to
letter
see.
either.
They apologize for that. There are so many attachments, I must have refrained, because I knew everyone was busy reading the Department of Housing email. So,
Every time I can't sleep.
yeah, exactly. I'm sorry, Jerome. Let's just quick second. So long story short, everyone that attended everyone has very recently reviewed your zoning regulations regarding the IHC. Because of the recent housing informational and also the emails that came in. So after the housing informational, the chair and I met and discussed potentially putting a letter forth to the Board of Selectmen. I think we all discussed this. I'm all foggy from November. And I was tasked with authoring a letter that would go to the Board of Selectmen, which I'm very sorry I didn't send, but I'm happy to read now. It reads December 3rd, 2025. I can adjust the date. Dear Board of Selectmen, in light of the housing informational held on November 5th and a recent Planning and Zoning Commission discussion, the Planning and Zoning writes to express their position on particular details of the incentive housing overlay zone, section 4.4 of the zoning regulations. According to the regulations, the Planning and Zoning Commission shall be designated to review and implement the affordability requirements affecting incentive housing development. The Planning and Zoning Commission shall be designated as the administering agency for any unit subject to an incentive housing restriction. In a case where the administering agency cannot adequately carry out its administrative duties, upon certification of this fact by the Board of Selectmen, such duties shall devolve to and thereafter be administered by a qualified housing entity designated by the Board of Selectmen. The administering agencies shall ensure the following. A, prices of incentive housing homeownership units are properly computed and rental amounts of incentive rental units are properly computed. Income eligibility of households applying for incentive housing is properly and reliably determined. C, the housing marketing and residential selection plan conforms to all requirements and are properly administered. Resident selection plan will include preference for persons currently living, working, or volunteering in the town as allowed by applicable law, which isn't actually allowed by applicable law because of fair housing. Side note, sales and rentals are made to eligible households chosen in accordance with the housing market and resident selection plan with appropriate unit size for each household being properly determined and proper preference being given. And finally, E, incentive housing restrictions meeting the requirements of this section are recorded with the proper registry of deeds. The P and Z does not find it appropriate nor deem themselves properly qualified to act as administering agency to administer the affordability requirements of housing within the IHC. This letter is intended to communicate this to the Board of Selectmen. The next step for the Board of Selectmen would be to actively identify and designate a housing entity able to carry out the duties as set forth in the zoning regulations. Thank you for your consideration, Town of Canaan Falls Village Planning and Zoning Commission.
And with this letter, really it becomes applicable in this case to the housing trust when they go for a building permit. So we're just trying to get the municipalities ducks in a row, so when a building permit comes forward, it's not, oh, well, what is this? So that's the purpose of this letter going to the Board of Selectmen to let them know it's the planning and zoning's opinion that we cannot fulfill this what's administrating agency duty as prescribed in our own regulations. Any questions on that? I know we've spoke about doing this, but just circling back, it's been a while. Okay.
Is everyone comfortable? Do you mind if there's like a motion
I
that
don't
this
mind
is
at all.
supported so it gets sent?
Yeah, for sure. So take a motion to send this forward to the Board of Selectmen as read. Then Patty will get you a copy of it.
Yeah, I'll send it right now. I'm sorry.
We'll get you a copy of this.
Sending it to you right now, Patty.
So moved.
Eileen, is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion on this? Matt, anybody on Zoom have anything yelling at us on Zoom?
No, everyone's good.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Item D, the 824 referral, concerning 107 Main Street, which, so everybody's on the same page. The building across the street that houses the senior center and the Off the Trail Cafe had the art museum art furnace with the art space. That lease was not renewed, and the Board of Selectmen have had, in essence, applicants interested in the spot, and they have chosen the business to take that spot up. So do you want to fill in what an 824 referral
Sure, yeah.
is?
So 824 referral, it's a statutory requirement in the event that the town changes their lease or substantially improves space that they own. It does have to come before the Planning and Zoning Commission. In this capacity, you're advisory, and you're basically utilizing your plan of conservation and development to review what the town is going to use the land for, and then report back whether it's a yay or a nay of the use of that land. It's advisory only, so they can take your comments or they can discard them, but be it what it may, it is a requirement.
So what'll come forth is, a lease because it's municipal owned land, or, correct me, I think I have this right. Since it's municipally owned land, it'll be kicked into a special use permit for the new business. So, they'll have to go through, like we did, if you recall what we did for the cafe. We'll have to go through a special permit, public hearing. For approval.
What,
I know that,
what is the new business, Craig?
is it okay to say? It should be. Judy, are you on?
I'm on.
Do you think it's
It's,
okay to say? Go ahead.
Well, we did vote on it publicly, so.
Oh, excellent. Okay, I just wanted to make sure I wasn't getting ahead of, I know we're just trying to move quickly. So it's, I don't know, what's the actual name? I know it's a yoga's.
It's Monica Zinke, and she has a yoga studio. Let me see what she calls the business. She's been in business for quite a while.
Right.
It's Wild Root Wellness. Wild
Thank you.
Root Wellness.
Okay, good.
Wild Root. Thank you, Judy, on that.
You're welcome.
So I guess we will go to schedule a public hearing. Is that our next step on this?
Yeah, so just looking at the village business zone, its principal uses allowed by special permit and its municipal building or use. So it follows in the same, as just as Greg said, as what the cafe had to, their approval process. So that said, I mean, without further ado, if they're ready and they know.
Judy, thoughts on that? Have you had that discussion?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what Janelle said.
So we have to go to special permit. We're just not sure if Monica is ready, like how quick, how quickly she could be ready. We could do a special meeting, special hearing. We could do it at our February meeting.
Sure. So the attorney is still drawing up the lease, so we won't have the lease probably for a week or so. We were thinking that she would be ready to go in there by the end of February, if we could get all the hearings and meetings and everything else done.
So it sounds, Judy, like our February meeting should be, I know it's only like a week away, but from March, but do you
Yeah,
think that's soon enough in your opinion? I mean, we can always reschedule it if there's some push, but if you
no,
think
I
that's
think
okay.
that would be fine. That's what, February.
Pulling up the picture now.
26th
Yep.
February.
Yeah,
26.
February. Yeah. So yeah, it's only 2 days before March 1st, but
We'll close
And
it.
and the Board of Selectmen, from what I understand, we have to do a hearing as well. We did with
yeah,
the off the trail.
yeah. And Dave's gonna look into it. We spoke prior to the meeting that if we could do it at the same meeting so that everybody comes out once, but I don't know if that's doable, but he said he'd look into it.
Okay. Yeah.
So it'd probably be like before our meeting. So we would do a special meeting at say 6:15 or something. So maybe you could have your meeting at like 6 o'clock or
Okay,
what have you. So we can figure that detail moving forward, but just so we're all going one direction.
okay.
And then, as we spoke about, any questions Monica has, our CEO is a pleasure to work with, so.
Oh, yes, I know that.
So Judy, please by all means feel free to connect her with me because what
I
I can
will.
do is make sure I get that public ad in the paper properly and then that we just get her application, everything prepared as expeditiously as possible.
Sounds good. Thank you, Janelle.
Happy to do it. Just send her my way.
Okay.
We need a motion to hold a public hearing, or is it administrative, or just takes motion?
Yeah.
So I'd accept a motion to be held at 6:15, February 26th. Here at 108 Main Street to accept and what are we accepting? setting a public hearing for site root yogurt or something.
Wild root.
Wild root?
Wild root
Wild root.
wellness.
Wild
wellness.
Root Wellness.
Thank you. I should have written that down.
I'll make a motion.
You got that?
So moved.
Okay. Matt, is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Right.
Thank you. Old business, item 4A, Village Center Parking Plan, nothing to report. Solar Committee update, nothing to report. Old Firehouse Sale Committee update, nothing at this time. Dave said he did hear back from Emily Vale to meet with him, the Board of Selectmen or Dave and 35 Rural Street Sales Committee. She was proposing next week, but that doesn't work for Dave, so still trying to set a date.
This is so, Greg, I just want to make one comment, how out of hand this is. That's it. I won't go into it anymore. For it to go this long.
Duly noted, your comment.
Good.
Item B, dark skies implementation. We will be sending along, as we discussed, a letter to LHK to see if they can willingly do something with a spotlight at the front door that shines down. I guess that would still be Main Street towards the bright light in the front. So that letter should be going out to Nell in a
Yeah.
week or so.
2 thoughts. I'll prepare just a template letter for all things
Yes.
dark sky, so that in the event that there is a violator, it's just a template and we can just send out, and you'll have it as the chair. So you can, run around town with those notices. No, but one thing to add, I drove here via Warren Turnpike past the high school, and there's that new Eversource project, and it is insane.
I was going to reach out to you. I waited for this meeting
Thank you.
because, well,
You can reach
it was more a curiosity because I drive there in the morning and at night, and it's even lit up in the mornings at like 6:15, 6:30. And there is just that one house there, but I couldn't quite remember what on your zoning report, and I looked back, but I couldn't remember what they're doing there, or do we not know?
So we do not, because it's Eversource, it's a public utility, and it's,
Oh, I thought the high
It's an-
school that's Eversource.
yeah.
Eversource.
So my understanding is that they've created that sort of chain link.
Yeah,
So the high school is doing a learning lab, which is a
but that's not
very,
affiliated to the clearing in that fenced
no,
in.
no.
Okay.
And sadly, I sort of confounded the two because I had a moment where I was like, oh boy, is that what that meant? Because I did a site visit with them and they're way closer to the river to do some really interesting hands-on student learning. But what that is, just in brief, I first came in and spoke with the first selectman. I guess they're staging some sort of equipment. I think it's just like telephone poles.
I think
Okay.
they're just poles.
Yeah, literally, like I didn't know.
Well, it has
poles
to be on
needed
some-
that much light.
Kind of timer.
Yeah.
Because since I came through early tonight for the meeting, it wasn't on, but when you came through,
Yeah.
probably 20 minutes later,
I
it
would
was
be
on.
curious if it was just dusk to dawn, light things that stays on all night. I don't.
Maybe
It's hot.
Matt,
I'm
can
gonna.
that
do
lights
some
up
recon?
that whole field.
It's insane.
It has
It's
to.
a lot of
Yeah, I believe the selectman reached out to Eversource. I might bug him just for the contact and just send him. I mean, we don't have jurisdiction, but
No,
I don't think it hurts to at least say we're being very mindful in town.
especially with the dark sky and with it,
I mean-
Kellogg in the daycare.
It's also a habitat right near the river. So more so like from wearing my wetlands environmental hat, that's also like not an ideal spot with
And
migratory
also-
birds and everything.
Yeah,
So I'll write the template and we'll at least pass it along.
okay,
So
yeah,
we will.
I'm glad
keep
you
that-
saw it.
We'll keep that on
Yes,
our light radar.
last night I thought it was a car cut, like even when I was at the tennis court, like going past tennis courts towards town. it looked like a car was coming that way. And then when I came over the knoll, it was just the field was lit up and you could see one of the spots. It was
Incredible.
Is there a
Yeah.
pickleball court down there?
I
I
mean,
don't,
you
he's
could,
staying
yeah,
quiet. So
you
I
could
don't know.
play all night long if you wanted
He's
to.
staying quiet over there, so maybe.
Item 5, other business to come before the commission, P O C D implementation subcommittee update. We received a copy of the minutes today from their meeting on November 17th. Doug, did you want to?
So the one item that came out of that, we're not getting a lot of replies or response from anybody, really. So we decided to draft a letter that we could send to maybe the chair of each board or whatever commission. And again, just to sort of reiterate that we're out here, we're trying to help, let's move this thing along, yada, yada, invite us to your meeting. So we try to turn it into a more formalized approach instead of just, I've talked to a lot of people, but everybody just, whatever, you lose track over time. So we'll get this put together if you want to skim over it. I'm not sure if we should be emailing, mailing, what do you think would be the best way to get it so people
I
actually?
think problems email to the commission and then they have to read it into the
It's official correspondence.
official correspondence, so at least to get on their record.
Sorry, cool. I'll do that. Now, do you want to, as the chair, sign it? You want us to sign it? All right. That'll cover that.
Are you just asking for uh, status, or are we asking for them for specifics that relate to their particular committees and where they may be in relation to the POCD?
Yeah. A little bit of all of that. The letter's gonna put them into a position of at least having to look at it, maybe
Right.
reply one way or the other. So I'm
That's what I
thinking.
think, yeah. I'm sorry, I didn't mean
For us. Oh, go ahead.
I think you're right.
I-
I think it should be specific and it should be something with a deadline.
Yeah. So I'll get together with our group. We'll have another meeting in between, but probably by March, we'll be able to bring into here an updated workbook and see what sort of responses. And we've done quite a bit, so that's all gonna be in there.
Good.
Board of, and I'll send them the letter as well. But otherwise, that's where we're at.
Do they get an NYP?
Yeah. I
Do,
can't live with that one.
Should you be meeting with these boards and commissions like soon because budget season is coming, and if they're gonna implement some things, we're gonna need money.
Yep.
Part of it soon is
Yeah.
that nobody's responding.
Maybe your next subcommittee meeting,
We've-
if there's an item there, you think that could be budgetary, maybe we can
Yeah,
send that note
we're
along.
getting no replies or
That
feedback.
kind of sounds familiar.
But some of those items relating to budget are also related to the steep grant and the money that's coming from that.
Okay.
So some of it would be covered that way, but that's a great point.
Yeah, really cool.
Yeah.
Any questions for Doug? Thanks for your group.
Yeah.
T and Z monthly financial reports of the treasurer, that was sent out as well. Everything's in order, 60% through the fiscal year, if you can believe already. And
Wow.
we're underspent. We don't exactly know on some of the items such as publications, but that seems to be a subject for a different day. I think other than that, the lines. Oh, and our secretary is maybe not fully billed up to date, but we have money to pay her, so.
As
long as you still have the money to pay
We
me.
have money.
What's the date on this?
It's 12:30.
Yeah, 12:30.
Oh, okay.
Any questions on this?
Yeah.
Moving on next, budget fiscal year 26-27. We haven't been asked yet, but we know that the Board of Selectmen will be going into their budget planning. Anytime now, definitely February, March.
They sent an email.
They did send.
They have a workshop.
Well, they have a workshop, but
Yeah.
that usually they send an official request asking for whole budget numbers.
Oh, got it. It's different.
Looking where we are, Janelle and I spoke a little bit about it, and we're pretty comfortable. I think we were pretty comfortable leaving everything as is for fiscal year 26, 27. We did talk about GIS having a cost, so GIS has done amazing, this company, and I can't just say what their name is. Yeah, those guys.
Yeah, QDS is, I think, what they're under, but it's also Terra and GIS. Yeah.
Melvin and Myron and
Marwin and Miles.
Marvin and Miles have done a fabulous job on behalf of the town, on behalf of the planning and zoning. Everything that, I'm CC'd in, anything that Janelle asks, it's like instantly, like it's mind spinning how quickly they reply and neaten up the, expected few little glitches or oversights or things that got missed.
How are they being paid now?
They're paid now by go ahead, you may know better than I.
So there's a grant, so due to state mandate to basically digitize your parcels and also do a mismatch, which is, for lack of a better term, it's sort of like to verify your data to make sure that everything makes sense. They've been funded by the assessor's office. The recent maps that I've asked them will be a very nominal fee. In conversation with Marwin and Miles, they anticipate their maintenance fee and like project fee with what our cadence has been would be safe to say 1,500 to 2,000 annually.
And is that number come out of our budget? Is that why you're saying we have to talk about?
Well,
putting it
yeah.
in there?
Yes, if you look at miscellaneous and engineering for this year,
Mhm.
consultant engineer, both have 1,000 and both have yet to be used.
Right.
So I'm comfortable that could cover what he's done thus far. When
We
do
talked
get
about it earlier, it was a discussion of everybody's using it, who gets stuck paying for it, or.
And that's not a perfectly clear, so our best guess is, and why we ask is, say they do full 1,500 under us, I think we have money. If Michelle wants to change a line, or the Board of Selectmen or the Board of Finance wants to change a line, so it's a little bit more clear. We were gonna list it under miscellaneous at 1,000 with a sub language stating that
It's for that.
some of this miscellaneous would be under
I think it's good to
this
clarify that.
GIS system,
Yeah.
so that public
Smart.
is aware
Yep.
where this line item could be spent. And if they want to move things or change it or raise it, that's their purview. We don't know, so we're
Bringing it
giving
up.
our honest look.
Yeah.
But we still think we have plenty of money, no matter what they want our budget lines. If they want to manipulate them a little bit, so be it.
Right.
We believe that we have
And
plenty of money.
each time when you call them to make those little tweaks, is there a cost to that, or is it contractually the same amount of money? Is that the maintenance thing?
We've been very fortunate, we'll just say that, so it's, so far, they've just been taking
Part of
care of it under the grant.
I work with Marwin and a lot, and he's very just quick and
Okay.
gets
Yeah,
it.
no,
Yeah,
that's
Yeah.
a professional, that's a pro, what they do, and they know that
very
time is of the
generous with
essence,
his
but
time.
I don't know, I find it so easy to go on and look and find rate sheets or like all the stuff that is not necessarily here.
Good point.
That people are looking up who owns that property, or I wonder, taxes, what's going on.
It'll be interesting when you're in the budget workshop to also get a sense of what the assessor, who's sort of the lead of the GIS, like what they're anticipating for ongoing maintenance. And then also just for your listening to see what other departments it benefits. Some departments may not even be aware wetlands should be using it completely.
Yeah.
And I don't even know if they're aware that it's there, but it's great. You bill, put the bill a little.
Well, they might be putting that number in their budget, too, right?
Exactly.
Or if it comes a little bit, then
Yeah. So however, it all shakes out at the end
Yep.
and that needs
the
to
top
be,
of
worked on a little bit. I feel comfortable, but we're open, this is an open discussion. We'll go line by line. Zoning enforcement officer, if you recall, there's just a placeholder there for another couple of years and that line can go away. Because we've joined the former zoning enforcement officer line with CEO planner down on the very bottom. So that we didn't go through the incredibly painful process of splitting Janelle up into those little pieces. We could just kind of put a little.
Sounds like
That's what-
Silence of the
That's
Lambs.
what it felt like.
Clarice. Secretary expense at 1280 gives us.
Can we double that?
Rate 80,
It's 80.
80.
I'm not
So
really
unless
sure.
that changes, that'll give us 16 meetings a year, so that can take care of special meetings and all of our regulars. So it should be enough, plenty of money for Patty to take a nice vacation.
or buy groceries, electric bill.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
I was thinking shoes, but.
No, it's yours.
Clerical expenses at 100, which we don't really have anything, but we could, especially with maybe some postage and clerical for if we do an expansion of the village business owner or something, there could be something in there.
Things are going
Miscellaneous.
up.
Yeah, what's clerical versus postage?
Clerical's more like, I would, I don't have the breakdown of it, but I think it's more like mailings or printings or something who
Something to mail it.
work like that, where postage purely is stamps. So $100 will get us what, 5 stamps?
At this rate now. Well, if you buy them now, maybe six.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, get those forever
There you
stamps.
go.
So miscellaneous will leave at 1,000, with hopefully that number might change a little bit, but our bottom line won't. Potentially if we agree to this. Attorney, I'm not sure why we have $1,001, but we'll keep it the same.
We're gonna keep it.
We worked hard to get that $1. Publication expense, that's a one we don't quite know either.
It's hard
That
to
one-
tell.
It's hard to tell
Put
because
something in
how
the
many
paper?
special permits and
First-
whatnot get put out, but somehow we thought that would be okay still. I think even Michelle kind of agreed that. Consultant engineer at 1,000, mileage at 200, and CEO planner at 26,160. And just for reference, so far this year, we've used 40%, 60% of the way through. As we're all well aware, December was a quiet month with busy season again, so you can't take that straight line. It's not linear to the end of the year. But we don't know what's coming, right? So if we get somebody that has a project that requires 17 site visits, that line will fluctuate accordingly. But I believe, well, you had said, but we'll state it publicly, you're comfortable that that'll be enough for 26, 27.
Yes.
So that would give us a total, again, proposed of 31,592 for the year. Which, how can that number be right if there's, okay, $2. There's two $1. So is everybody comfortable with those numbers? Anybody want to talk about changing any of those numbers? With that, I'd accept a motion to propose the budget as discussed to the Board of Selectmen to be passed to the Board of Finance if they agree with it. For budget year 26, 27.
So
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion, further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
So moved, thank you. Going back on GIS mapping and village business zone expansion. Item 6A. That would be,
Do you want me to jump in?
Yeah.
Okay. So I hope everyone, I did email this one, I do know. So this is a memo I retweet. We had an older memo from, believe it or not, 2023 about the village residential business zone. And I've just reworked it, reworded it, and brought it up to sort of our thinking of today, now that we have our town plan of conservation development for 2024 through 2034. So this is sort of your preliminary introduction to the zone. And then I added a few. So in the bold, you will see under by special permit, these were additions. So from that 2023 iteration, which might not even be germane for some commissioners here. In bold, I've added a few new uses because of some thoughts and initiatives that not only the Plan of Conservation and Development have pushed forward, but also this group, we're now focusing on some mixed use and some housing opportunity. So I've brought in by special permit mixed use, which seems pretty appropriate for your center of town, which would be a business use combined with residential use. The regulations currently state that the business use has to be on the ground floor and the residence has to be on the top floor. I don't think that's necessary. So I'm getting rid of that. And then also bringing in your small scale manufacturing, processing, packaging, assembly of goods. Because by virtue of creating this zone, the industrial zone will actually be absorbed. So rather than get rid of that use that we spent a lot of time talking about around cannabis, making sure that we actually allow for that use, knowing that it would be a special permit anyway, and the site would have to be very, very appropriate for it. But I didn't want to just delete industrial uses because as we've all seen, small scale manufacturing isn't really supported as much as it used to be in this area and or country. The multifamily dwellings, 3 or more units, that should not read it should read multifamily. That's again by special permit, and this is again within the center village district. Infrastructure is really going to dictate a lot of these uses, so that will be to be determined. But in thinking through allowing for cluster housing and cooperative housing, we'll get to both of those concepts and meanings in the later memo. But rather than to limit the uses in this zone, the thought was really to broaden uses in this zone. Not saying every site will be appropriate for these uses. There will be the special permit process that each applicant would have to go through in the event that they want this use there. So looking at minimal dimensional requirements, I haven't settled on the square footage. I was sort of thinking between this half acre or this quarter of an acre roughly. There are much smaller lots within the village center. So just thinking the standard within the immediate center is at 10,000 square feet. Any thoughts on that?
oh, I have two questions for you. Well, I have a thought on that. I
Yeah,
think I have to, that one's coming from the hip, but the other one, like for by special permit, small scale manufacturing. How do we quantify small scale?
I'm so glad you asked that. So you're segueing into page 3. So on page 3, I did state allowable uses that haven't yet been defined will now be defined within section 8 of the zoning regulations, which means we will be defining that. Yeah, that's a great question because that very much would have to be defined.
And then as far as the lot, yeah, I mean, my initial thought is, I understand setbacks and frontage maybe, but even frontage is Or well, a lot of
It's
feet
big,
even,
it's huge.
it's like 100 feet's a lot in
So-
the village business zone.
50 feet is what's in IHC.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we just have to kind of look at, through our GIS mapping, will that give us some dimensional standards?
So yeah, what I can actually do, and this, I can ask either Miles or Marwin if they could just, because they have all the data, if they could just send me, and they worked with me to develop these maps, if they don't mind sending me the average lot size and then maybe average frontage, and I can do some hunting myself so that we can come up with
Yeah,
the
because it's
healthy
gotta be
median.
realistic, otherwise it's an exercise that can't be utilized except for very few parcels.
And I don't
And
want
that's
it
not the intent.
exactly. And for it to be an arbitrary number just because like, oh, this is that, I think I'd much rather come up with what is sort of the mean in the area or what the appropriate median. That front setback at 0 was thought through because of the historic notion of a lot of the buildings that are in the village center, knowing that if your front setback is 0, you will likely be encroached upon by DOT if you're on a state road. Very often people's property is actually not as large as they think, and DOT owns quite a lot. But the thinking was also you don't have that immediate abutter because it's the road. So you're in essence, even though the setback is 0, you probably don't exactly want to be like exactly on the road. Some buildings historically are, give or take, but it gives you the clearance because there's a roadway before you would hit another abutter. So that was the thinking there. And then, of course, your side yard would be enough so that you have clearance essentially, so you can maintain your house without trespassing.
I think the front setback is good, looking at BB Hill as an example, it's an extremely wide municipally owned road. Surprisingly, how wide it is. But so you wouldn't want to have to go from that property line back 25 feet because you'd have nothing left. How does this change with, I only had brought in I didn't bring my full set. How does that, like the side and the rears change from what's current? Is it 25 side and 20 out or something like that?
So if you're talking about the village, so in the village residential zone right now, your minimum lot size is 5,000 square feet.
Okay,
So I'm gonna throw that in there as a possibility. Your minimum frontage is 50 feet.
yeah,
So yeah, getting rid of 100, definitely 50 feet would be the very lowest.
Minimum.
Your front yard is 0, your side yard is 10, and then your rear yard is 30,
30.
which takes a lot
I know
away.
that's created some,
It takes a lot away. And then your building height max is gonna be that standard 35 in keeping just with everything else. The building coverage and impervious coverage was not defined in your village center. And you may venture to include it. It is helpful with stormwater management, but it's also understood this is your densest area in town. So if there's gonna be a non-applicable area, that this might actually be that area. Because as we know, there are actually some, I mean, for that building coverage, there are some buildings because of just the historic nature that are right up on the lot with very little clearance around. So to even meet that 25% could be arduous.
yeah, and the impervious, all of it could be very.
So I'm actually gonna take those,
Okay.
in speaking out loud, I'm happy we're having this discussion. I actually would probably just take those out.
I think that was good. And then I like the move that should be impressing what people think of them, but
There's a really neat, if for anyone that's like nerding out on the GIS, there is a measuring tool. So if you want to discern like anyone's frontage or anyone's setback, when you have the GIS up, you can actually, it's very approximate. But you can select it and basically like approximate some frontages and stuff. So it's really neat to fiddle around with. I use it for approximate measurements pretty often, but very useful tool. And then the map on page 3, that was very much a product of Marwin and Miles. And you'll see, so my earlier point was just we would now be essentially absorbing everything that's light industrial. So I didn't want to get rid of those uses altogether because that zone would actually cease to exist by virtue of adopting this new zone.
Any questions for Janelle? So some more speech, and I guess we'll bring it back for
Good.
final list.
Yeah.
That's good.
We're nice to move it forward.
Yeah.
Good week for moving things
Thank you.
forward.
Yeah.
Yes.
We all get started. Housing priorities, multifamily, village business, large homes, farm conversion, cluster housing, accessory dwelling units.
So the next memo that I sent around, some of it should not have been new, but from page 2 and 3, I added essentially an analysis and some recommendations just based on past discussions. So page 1 and page 2 essentially lay out what your current regulations allow for. So I'll back up. The background of this memo is what the P and Z action items are associated with housing that we were all prioritizing tackling. There are about 4 action items that we've thought all go into this housing category. So 1 through 4 is identified on the front page of the memo. And then I lay out the existing conditions, essentially what the regulations currently state in town. And then what I've added since we last convened in November was this analysis. The analysis gets back to our action steps. So you'll see I make a recommendation so that we can satisfy each action step. So action step 1 reads modify zoning regulations to allow multifamily housing in the village center, including new construction, rehab, and conversion of existing buildings into housing. And I'm stating that it would be achieved by the establishment of the village business residential zone, because I'm now proposing that the zone will allow for multifamily housing in the village center. So you'll see we'll also be allowing for cluster housing, the tiny homes genre. Action step 2, modify zoning regulations to allow for the conversion of larger homes into 2 or 3 family homes, provided at least one of the units is deed restricted as affordable. So it's recommended that the P and Z allow for duplexes, multifamily housing, both as new construction and as building conversion. The denser housing types would be allowed in village business residential zone. And this is essentially like, unless the state can truly provide incentives, I would see it very challenging to convince residents to voluntarily self-impose a deed restriction. That's simply an opinion. And then action 3, modify zoning regulations that allow for co-housing, cooperative housing, and cluster housing, as well as opportunities for smaller houses. So the commission, we may want to reconsider the residential compound provisions. That was allowed in the residential agriculture and also mountain residential zones, so your larger lot residential areas. But a modification might more easily allow for cluster housing. And cluster housing would actually achieve having multiple detached houses on a single lot. The current regulations mandate that the land has to remain subdividable in the future and encourages single driveways for 4 units. The provisions conflict with the current regulations associated with interior lots and shared access ways, and also as written, It's mandating that more land be disturbed and developed. So what I'm proposing is reworking the provisions so that multiple detached units can be established on a single lot. And then careful consideration would be given, obviously, for the local area health requirements. But rather than basically say you can have a residential complex, but it can only be reconfigured as a subdivision, it's like, well, thanks, but like you're not really enabling housing. So I'm thinking of reworking that so that in the event that health regulations can be satisfied, that cluster housing, tiny homes, development like that, could be allowed for. Action step 4, review zoning regulations regarding accessory dwelling units to see if improvements could be made. And then I get into some suggestions around accessory apartments. I'm actually bringing them. I'm so happy you brought this vintage
While I
brochure.
was looking through my archive, we
Um,
were so ahead of our time.
the thought around accessory apartment is really to make them all by permit. And also recommending that there's really no distinction whether it's a zoning permit versus a special permit based on whether an accessory apartment is detached or attached, and also whether it's greater or less than 1,000 square feet. It's just like, why are we like, oh, if you want to be over 1,000 square feet, you have to go to the special permit? The approach will reduce both the time and financial burden on applicants by eliminating the need for special permit and also public hearings. And then all of the other standards would be removed. So accessory apartments do expand housing opportunities and can support existing residents' ability to age in place by allowing for the creation of smaller individual living units on their property. And as with current practice, approvals from local area health district will continue to be required. So that's a given. I've suggested that short-term rentals potentially become regulated, just for your consideration. And that is a brief run through. I'm happy to discuss any of these further.
The regulates.
By special permit in some towns.
But, okay.
Yeah, so anything that's short term, I think it depends on how you want to define short term. In some towns, it's less than a month. You would go to special permit if it's a non-hosted Airbnb, so that would mean the property owner is not present. Yeah, the property owners that are present, I haven't seen those enforced. Just because it's like they're there, but for the ones that aren't present, I have seen enforcement because of the use. Just something to think about.
Do, if you have unattached garage, is that considered if you have an apartment upstairs, is
An
that
accessory.
considered,
Accessory,
it's still
yeah.
an accessory?
Yep, and what I'm suggesting, our regulations currently require if it's detached, that you have to go through the special permit process, and if it's greater than 1,000 square feet, you have to go through the special permit process. If it's smaller than that, and if it's in the house, it doesn't have to. And what I'm suggesting is just, why not just let it happen by a zoning permit? It's costly. They have to have Torrington area health approval, and I'm gonna be investigating and inspecting anyway. So the cost of the public hearing to come before the commission to do the whole thing, I think there's other priorities in town to investigate, but that's just from my experience with what accessory apartments now have become, because they are relatively more common than what they used to be. But always up to you to make the hard decisions.
So I think this is great start and, some of the regulations that we're talking in the village currently could be hamstringed by the need for septic, at least they're on public water, but they're on private septics. Looking forward, I think we're better to be ahead of a public septic system for the village, which I think is inevitable and needs to happen. But I think it would be remiss of us to wait until that point. I'd rather have these
Yeah, in
regulations in
place.
place if
Yeah.
a property can currently meet the Torrance Canary health
Granted,
requirements. So,
so right there.
you know, because otherwise
For
we're
the,
hamstringing maybe a few potential properties with
Door system.
yeah.
heading towards our goals, right? Because, you know, certain properties can't grow because of the lack of land for appropriate septic. It just kind of takes that away and leaves it up to that property, and who knows where the engineering could go on private systems in the future as well. I don't exactly know. So I think it's, in my opinion, a big challenge to keep moving with that. Obviously, the RA and the mountain residential, that's their own entities. That's, you know, same applicabilities, but much easier to obtain appropriate septic. Really, it's a septic that's the issue, right? Yeah. Anybody else have any feedback for Janelle? Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Good, thank you.
If
Putting
you
it
want to
out
see
there.
a really
Yeah.
cool example of cluster housing, there is a really neat tiny home development for seniors, and it's very interestingly only women. They didn't try to exclude, but it's just the natural way it happened. And it's on 2 acres, and there's 10 units, and they clearly have different health codes than we do. But I will look up what they call themselves. There was a really lovely podcast about them, and they now decided, because they're all 70 to 80 years old, they're building a tiny home and then having a healthcare provider live there. And she just like makes her daily rounds, and like that's their complex. It's in Texas, and
It's down south somewhere.
yeah, it's in Texas, and it's called I will look it up. It's a very, very
Pine
sweet.
Grove South,
What's that?
Pine Grove South.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It'd
exactly.
be cool to have like a development like that with like a centralized eating area and,
Oh my gosh, especially
you know,
seniors.
because they can live
Like,
on their own, but then
As long as they have
I don't know
pickleball.
how noble it is.
exactly. Like a pickleball court
Oh,
in the
it's-
middle of all this little tiny homes.
And a knee surgeon.
And a knee surgeon, yeah, exactly. I can send that link to everyone because it's escaping me what they call it, but it's adorable.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah, it's really neat story.
So Janelle,
Thank
when you talk about that, right? It's, you know, tiny homes or cluster homes, assuming the homes are owned by individuals, but on one parcel. So who owns the dirt?
That would be up to the property owner.
Okay,
So
so
there's no provision. The inner workings of that wouldn't so much cross our desk. Granted, that would be left for whoever's the property owner to decide, rather than for us to tackle as planning and zoning commission to
Owner
allow that
occupied?
use.
Should be owner occupied.
There's nothing that would
No.
say that.
So Kathy, I'm a little bit could you just explain your question to me? So are you
So-
asking that
so,
it'd be
yeah.
multiple owners on that one site?
right, so
Is
if
that
there's
the-
10 tiny homes, and assuming that they're owned by the 10 individual women, let's just use that example, right? They're owned by the homes themselves are owned by the 10 individual women. Who owns, if the land has to be subdividable, but not necessarily a subdivision, it's one parcel going in with 10 homes, who owns the land?
So the intent of cluster housing would not be so that the property could be subdividable. That was from the residential compound, which is currently in the regulations. My thinking is not to carry over the requirement that the property has to be subdividable and leave the ownership up to the organic way in which it happens, much like how you see in like a condo or some alternative situations where there clearly will be a property owner, and how that gets decided. Potentially people, and from the Texas example, they pay rent, they pay for the opportunity to occupy the tiny home space
Hmm.
on the lot, but they do own the building that they're in. So there's different ways to configure it. I don't really see zoning getting into the inner workings of like who is owning what. Clearly, it could be an LLC and there's 10 partners that have invested in land together.
Okay, or like a manufactured housing type complex, right? So
Yeah.
I'm just thinking of it
Yeah.
as, what are we going to, maybe we're not necessarily tied to it, but we've got to put together something to hand off to the tax assessor, right? So, what are we approving in terms of, what this could potentially look like?
Yep, and I don't even think the town of Falls Village has had the complexity of figuring out these sorts of housing configurations, because it's very typically your single family home on a single lot.
Right, right, exactly. Okay. All right, thanks.
But no, that's great thoughts, and I'm glad I don't have to figure out a lot of those answers.
We just create the problem, we
Yeah,
don't solve it.
we-
Anything further? Moving on to item 6C, Historic Study Committee effort. Janelle, you have anything?
Yeah, so I have not had availability to attend their meetings, and I will be missing the one that's going to be next week. They are working ahead with some revisions to a report, and will be nearing its finalization. So I have put them on my calendar for the month of February, and we'll check in about where they need my support to get it across the finish line. I did check, Marwin would be more than happy to map that district if it were to come to be.
Great. Item 7, CEO report while you're warmed up.
While I am warmed up. So I believe I emailed the zoning report to everyone in a separate email. And to Greg's earlier point, it is sort of a slower time when it comes to ongoing permits. It's not a slow time when it comes to ongoing questions. So getting a lot of inquiries. And today was actually a quite busy day with inquiries, but they're pretty steady. In brief, so the biggest things, there were two maps finally came through. One was for our, and that should be 166 Under Mountain Road. I'm sorry, not 116. 166 is the Carroll Flatten boundary line adjustment. That's all been finalized by the attorney and filed on the records. And then there was a mystery map that showed up from HVRHS, the high school, and they had just forgotten to file a map from years and years ago. So we've straightened that out. They were gifted some land from the state. Did not know that the state did that regularly, but voila, we have some extra land at the regional high school and it's all official and it's been recorded on the records. So that was, we are getting in the fight. It's nice, the relationship with the clerk. She won't just accept any map and file it. She will let me know that there's a map so that I come in and do the due diligence to make sure that somebody isn't just filing something on the land record and then demanding that it's approved, because that's happened, and not just here, but everywhere. And it's unfortunate when it does happen. You all are aware of the communication with DOH and IHZ. I have been out to Belden Street just to look at some feasibility, and this garage workshop could eventually become an accessory dwelling unit. So I'm seeing more interest with alternative housing, flexibility. And then some general questions about boring under the road. Those might come up more and more as fiber moves to town. I turn those over to our road foreman because I do not want to get involved with the public right of way. It's very much an important and expensive town asset. And then River Road, just some follow up with the application that we saw this evening, and then our ongoing GIS mapping. There will be some parcel mismatches that I have to look at. So if you're on GIS and you notice there's a parcel that's incorrect, or there's data that you know is incorrect, please bring it to my attention. Some things will be caught by the assessor. Some things, if we have additional knowledge, it's really helpful. We're cleaning up all the records right now. So between myself and Kayla, we're working as best we can with Marwin, but they are really taking the lead on that. Otherwise, I believe I sent a poster as well regarding this Fifth Thursday forum for those of you in the comfort of your own home on January 29th. If you want to attend, there will be a presentation on the new housing requirements, and it's all virtual. So Jocelyn Air will be giving that presentation. Sit back, relax, and learn about a housing bill that may soon be changed in the short session. So
Yeah. PCM's doing one on the same thing
yeah,
that next
a
morning.
lot of people are doing one.
It's a webinar.
There was a
Same thing.
attorney doing one today at the Cromwell Hotel. As much as it's important at this point in time, it's honestly hurry up and wait until the COG has provided us with the housing study. Look at what the housing study and the target numbers are. If you feel that it's digestible and it's something palatable for your town, can carry on, march on, and if not, object, and then you'll have to come up with your own. So it's a lot of to be determined. I have also heard that from a bunch of attorneys today that there will be drastic changes in the short session, so maybe not to get too much in the weeds about all of what this says because it's in flux and a lot of it's just waiting until our Northwest Hills COG tells us. What it has taken away is that 830J affordable housing plan requirement that on top of your POCD we did every 5 years, and this has now superseded that. So individual towns don't need to come up with that plan. So it took something off of the lap. We just really need to wait to see what the regional housing growth plan says and if we're in accord with what it proposes, which will not be even near finalization until 2028, to my knowledge. So we've got time, but if I still not to say the training will be important. And it also will satisfy the affordable housing requirement for that 1 hour. So
Did they record it?
I don't know. That's a great question. Usually, I mean, the COG used to. I have no idea.
We have a town meeting that night.
Oh, bugger. I
Very important one. Can't miss it.
The other group, CCM, does record it.
good.
They'll give you
How
whatever.
did you find, how did you find that one?
I just sent you the
Okay,
link to
great.
that.
Okay, good. Excellent, good.
Shazam.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
please, all of you that are going above and beyond in your after hours, when you do something, just send it to me because I just keep that. And if you've done it, great. So good. Ongoing education is always encouraged. That concludes paragraph.
These are public comment.
Yes, Laura wants, I can give you a video if I can figure out how to do this. Okay, there we go. I just have one comment. I just want to verify that the River Road lot line change application, that it won't be considered complete until you actually receive the letter that was referred to from Torrington Area Health. It's my understanding that's required. So no approval of that lot line would go through without that. Is that
That's
correct?
correct.
Okay,
Yep.
great. And then I would love to see a copy of that letter when it comes in. Should I ask the clerk for that or come to you?
You know what? I'm more than happy, Laura, to communicate whenever that does come in. So I
Okay.
don't know if you can see, but can you see the checklist right here?
Sort of. Yeah. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, so this is, sorry, this is that application and you'll see there's the checklist and down at the bottom it just says pending. Oh,
Got
oh,
it. Okay.
so
So I
this
see
is
the unchecked
this,
Torrington Area Health piece.
yep, and that's just gonna sit in my mailbox here in the town hall until it shows up.
Until it shows up. Perfect. Thank you. And thank
Yeah.
you for your service. It's a lot.
And
So,
and if you need to hear from me, by all means, please feel free to reach out just to jog my memory that you wanted a copy.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Okay. Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else on Zoom, Matt?
We have Judy.
Anybody in the public?
Judy?
Yep.
Yep, go
I
ahead.
just, I was looking at the town website and looking at your commission members, and I just wanted to point out that Vincent's term comes up at the end of this February.
Thank you,
So,
Judy.
Thank you,
yeah.
Judy.
Next one would be Kim, which is the end of June.
Vincent and Tim, thanks for doing it.
Before, 1 second, Vince, we have one. You want to do that?
Yep. Jane.
Excuse me, Bob Whalen from Habitat for Humanity, and I just was trying to get a sense of who is providing the TAHD letter and for which parcel? For the divided parcel or for the entirety of the 66 acres in question?
So it's the B100A approval indicating their compliance. So it would essentially be, it's a preliminary letter which Torrington Area Health says based upon the configuration of the land, this is feasible. It's just their certification. And I believe Keith alluded to that was underway.
Okay,
Yeah, that was my understanding. And I'm happy to follow up with him as the applicant, if that's helpful.
that would be very much appreciated.
Yeah,
If you
yeah.
could get hold.
Yeah. No, I track him down.
So essentially, you're saying that doesn't have anything to do with the lot line, really?
So it is a requirement.
Well,
So
I mean to say, it's not, I can see that it's a requirement, and we have gotten that approval already. So, but
Well, for their project, but we have done.
so
we're working with
the
TAHD.
yeah, so the
for the other
approval,
side,
Right.
it's always, I mean, this is standard for every single time that you divide property. There's going to be the Torrington Area Health District in this area that will come out and basically say, by virtue of dividing this land, you are not losing your capacities to support sanitary systems.
Oh.
So it's just like, we make sure, even with zoning compliance standards, the minimum lot size, the frontage is satisfied. They also do their due diligence so that we're not dividing lots that can no longer support sanitary systems, like your well and your septic. Granted, this will not be that traditional single family with a single well and a single lot, but it is a requirement of a division of land regardless.
Got it.
thank you.
You are welcome.
That was part of my question. Jandy Hannah, 32 Main Street, Bald Village. First of all, I had wanted to thank you all, not just for this, but for, I mean, not just for our part, but for all your service. It's really complicated with a lot that you're learning as you go along, and I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Apparently,
Do not blame you.
Think about the spectators, but
Thank you.
the other thing is about this lot line, one more thing. Am I to understand then that PAHC letter is the last thing that you need? The last box to be checked?
So, yes, and then the Mylar.
And the Mylar. And once those are all together, will you be able to decide, or will you have to wait till your next meeting?
So lot line revisions are administrative. It
Okay.
only comes before this commission because in 2016, a standard operating procedure was developed that requires, I'm not sure who was in charge then, but they just said, due to the fact that a lot of lot lines have been happening in town, they needed to come before the commission. Very often it is simply an administrative process that I sign off on,
Okay,
much like a deck or a shed, etc.
thank you.
So the
Yeah.
commission doesn't vote to approve or disapprove
I
it.
got it.
It's
We
more
just-
of a
We just need to be told about it.
point of information.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, so, and the last thing about Eversource, what is the status of the dark sky expectations for my neighbor?
We're working on that as well.
Same
We're gonna
thing.
work on that as well when we connect this other parcel.
Okay.
And I'm under the understanding that the first selectman does have a contact, a human's name that I can address this letter to. So I'm hoping I can get that information from him.
And that's partially, Jada, going back, like, we want to ask them that, but being that Kellogg is town-owned property, we feel like we should take care of our town property before we start asking our businesses and other owners to comply. Now, they pre-exist, but we're hoping to make a difference with some discussion. So we're trying to get, just so you know where we're coming from, this has been an ongoing thing.
Right, well, I appreciate
Or,
it.
property.
As somebody who lives there
To be a good steward.
with the light is a lot.
Yeah.
From them, much more than from the school.
Understood.
Yeah.
Yep. That's, okay.
Yeah, but I'd also like to know whose electric bill does that go on? And I'm sure it's divided up between all of them.
Oh.
And now we've got one on Warren Turnpike as well.
It's a great question.
That is going to, all of that, they're not gonna pay their own electric bills.
Does Eversource pay their own electric bills?
I don't.
Oh, interesting.
Is it like taxes?
When it goes up, that's one. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Do they pay a lot of tax?
I think they do.
And the work that they're doing over,
That's still minimal. I don't even know if they have a billing permit for that.
It's a public utility.
no, I'm sorry, for the major work that's
Oh.
being done by the power plant.
The power plant, yeah, oh, that's a utility. I'm pretty sure they're tax. I could be speaking on, doesn't matter. It's not in your purview, but
Yeah.
I feel
I'm
like
curious now.
I feel like they pay.
I would look into it. It's all on GIS.
Vince,
I
did
have
you
no
have something?
official correspondence.
Vince? You're muted?
Okay. Greg had a quick question. Has there been any development with the marijuana growers that made that presentation to us?
Bless you.
They are a little discouraged by the quality of land that they came in contact with in Falls Village. Just not to say it's not good land, it's lovely. But just that a lot of it has been sprayed and there aren't parcels large enough or in the location that they're looking for. My understanding is that they are pursuing an opportunity in Sharon at this time.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else here?
Tushar.
I think we're good on Zoom.
The house wouldn't work for it.
So just quick,
Yeah, I told them a long time ago.
going back a little bit, to the, number of units at the IHC. Is it our intent to amend our regs to define a maximum number?
I don't think we have an intent on that. We could have an intent. Potentially, that's a great question that I don't know how to handle that.
I just think, I mean,
I understand the question.
yeah, and I'm not, trying to get in the way of any of it. The lot line will be affected by that. So if we're moving it forward and, maybe by next meeting or March, it's a done there. I think we have to at least define what our rate will be for a maximum. And that'll apply to future.
Yeah, I mean, so we didn't fully answer it yet, and I don't know the answer, but the letter from DOH says that, our regulations have to show a minimum. And I understand Jocelyn's explanation of the maximum, but it doesn't meet the letter of 8 dash whatever, that our regulations show a minimum. And it's just, it's such a small point, but it could be, because that gentleman lined that line, I don't know how to deal with that yet.
Yeah.
So I feel like
Okay.
our regulations, we may have made a mistake unknowingly, but maybe we're covered.
You may want to clarify just for your own sake so that you're not having future conversation.
Right, and I think the fact that they've handed back the decision-making to us would only open the door to at least further discussion. I would like to see a cap put on it, some sort of limitation. And this just happens to be
I
the
would be
project in front of
cautious
us.
about stating that as like a predetermination now until like your desire, because we haven't gotten there yet. I would like use the P O C D to guide you to that decision if you're suggesting a regulation change rather than a predetermination of a statement of an opinion just because there's no application and there's no petition to change the regulations yet. So,
Right, but just like anything that we amend, it's to look after the town's best interest, right?
absolutely.
And that's the intent. It's not to slow the project up, change the course of it one way or the other. It's really a safeguard for the town. So if it wasn't Jandy and it was some, I don't want to say New York developer or wherever, but somebody could come in as it is today and build 81 units.
Yep, absolutely.
And that's, in my opinion, what shouldn't happen. I'm fine with this project, this, what's going on right now, but I think from our standpoint as a group, as a town, I think we need to protect ourselves.
So what we could do is, we'll put some thought into it for the next meeting. We could put it on the agenda. If you have any ideas along before our agenda, which is typically the week before,
Yeah,
feel free, or anybody on the commission, to pass forward a discussion point, an
Or
agenda
just
item.
bring the items so everyone's reviewed by IHD recently because of the required reading. Bring what's not clear to the meeting, like what you read where you're like, I don't understand this, or
Yeah.
also what you read where you're like, this could potentially not be good for the bottom line of the town.
Right.
You know, maybe just bring whatever is glaring and we could do it under reg review. Yeah.
I know it's not our part, but like, aren't you limited with having a well and a septic? So you can only use so much.
And that, right, and that's what
You can only have so many
you
toilets.
could say, you could say it could hold 81
Exactly
units
it.
by regulations, but by engineering, it can't. I mean, for the 14,
If you're asking me to,
no, well, we're just kind of including it because you're
well.
staying here, but there's a lot of, it's a lot of infrastructure for the 16 proposed units, like.
But I mean,
Engineering wise.
like for the town, it's like everybody's on the same thing. And it all goes downhill.
I'm at the bottom.
So, I mean, how is that? I mean, probably because it's old. It's all old, historic. So everybody, it's all grandfathered in.
You're
You know,
kind of
kind of.
more a village center at this point, this.
Yeah, like this, I would assume can't go somewhere else. I mean, I don't know how. I mean, it's not our purview, but it's, it's, you're only limited so much space. You can't put any more on here. Really.
Depending, yes.
May I add, the 2.5 acres that's left to build on. None of the rest is buildable, and it's all being sold to the conservation people. So technically, there are 2.5 more acres after ours. And there's a number, of how many units you can have before you've got to have a water company of your own. Okay, we have over that number, so we have to have a water company like the high school does. They might want to stay under it for the reason of not having to have a water company run it. See what I'm saying? So there are all kinds of things that are going to keep them from going too large. In reality.
You're talking about habitat.
Yes.
Well, I think, I'm not sure that Bob picked up on it at the informational meeting that you will be in some regard limited to what you can do with the entire property. So if you're splitting it up and you're getting 10 and he's getting the 3.5 or whatever.
It's true.
Based on my discussion, what I'm trying to get us all to think about is if there's a cap on it, that'll affect both of you in the end, possibly. Maybe you fall under it, I don't know. We haven't decided on anything. But it certainly wouldn't be 81, but I know Bob had mentioned 26 units, I think, at the information meeting. That was
No.
their intent.
No, I'm sorry.
It was double digits. I don't, 26, 23, so I don't know.
That's the most they had. They brought in, as I understand it, a few months ago when they came in, they had 3 different sizes. And the biggest was 10.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they were surprised. This is what they told me. And at this table, people seem to support the largest one. And that surprised them. It's the little thing that you would. So there are different messages going around or different interpretations of messages, but no, they 10 was the most, and that's a lot.
It was 5 duplex units.
Right. How much?
5 duplex units.
Or what you would call 10 resident.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So we really, this is what the planning is going to do. We have the most unique public comments interaction, and I like this. It's very
Yeah.
healthy. So
Yeah.
thank you for partaking in it with
Well,
us.
I did not believe that. I was interested.
Yeah.
Okay, good
That's
night.
why you need to
Good night.
rate the last
Danny.
Mhm.
anything further for comments?
On the agenda for next week.
Adjournment, motion to adjourn at 8:32.
So moved.
I heard Doug second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Did you whisper? Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
That's the